What it really means is that my ambitions for the continuation of the company have been achieved. It's a sign that we've done the right things in planning the future a long time ago. And for me, it really goes back to the days when I, a long time ago really, when I used to hear my Uncle Hartley say, well, first generation does this, second generation, third generation, they spend it all, it's all gone. And he was really serious about it. And so I didn't answer it, but I used to think to myself, that's not going to happen. And so, so the first problem was to get through that third generation stage, but then at the same time, it didn't take long to realise that when my uncles had gone and that there was going to be no further interest in their side of the family in the company, and my father and I were really the only ones interested in the future, and my dad did everything he could to support me in the sense of having an interest in the company, not really my interest, but like a financial interest and a stake in the company so that I'd have something to go on with. And so when the time came, when the rest of the family weren't really interested, it was just a case, what were they going to get out of it? And so it was obvious I had to think about an answer. And so I looked around for assistance in that. So first of all, I thought of the financial structure, and then on it went, and the future you've seen. But so that 100 years, what it means is that going back, 30, 40 years ago, that all my concerns were overcome. And so 100 years equals, to me, success in achieving the objective of two things. It didn't go out with the third generation, and it's there, we set it up for the fourth generation and to another generation to the future from here. So that, to me, is what 100 years really means to me.
We're both members of the Australian Institute of Building, and it was in that area where we, initially coming from New South Wales, coming from Victoria. Back in those days, of course, well, we were different states, but it was in that environment where the Institute was formed to encourage education in industry, and that's what I was referring to. And we were both there because we had a commitment to try and develop that opportunities. So that's where we met.
I could add to that a little bit in that, in adding to what Ron has said, and that we both had a mutual friend in Ron Swain, and I went to him after searching the market in New South Wales. I knew Ron, but I didn't know who to go to, and Ron Swain said to me after I said a couple of years of looking around and not really getting what I wanted or being comfortable with anything, and he said, well look, go and have a word to Ron, you know him, and we'll go along and see him. So that's what happened. But together with that, in my figuring out the future, because I knew I had to get shareholders, because my family made demands on me, well, if we're going to give you financial support to make the change, we want you to have backing from other people. So I thought to myself, well, there are the three best family companies in Australia, Hansen Yuncken, Hutchinson in Queensland, and Ron's company, GBS, from Sydney. And so we're all members of the Australian Institute of Building. So that really, because I knew these people, like Ron, that was the way of trying to get together. And for a little while, Hutchinson came in, but on the basis that we took them over. But in the end, they didn't want to lose their identity, and they've gone separately. So that's been great. And yeah, so that's how it all came together. And I think it was a good solution. People who basically knew each other, had the same, as Ron has stated, had the same interest in the industry and professional standards, and besides anything else. it was logical to give it a go.
No, one building. There's been so many great buildings. I can't really select one building because there are so many of them. And almost every building we build has that sense of achievement, job satisfaction, I believe. Sean, we've just had a very recently, probably the largest building we've been involved in, the hospital, Adelaide Hospital. And in technical sense, it's outstanding in terms of the construction techniques. It's outstanding in terms of the safety component of it. It's outstanding, and then from a client point of view, what it represents in terms of a benefit to the community, the health, the community of Adelaide is outstanding, and we're part of that. We had a partner, a joint venture partner with it, but that would stand out in terms of what the industry was capable of achieving.
I guess it's maybe the first one, but for the rest, they're all very important. Every job's just the same. They're all important, and it's so yes, it's an overall pride and achievement for the company. But it's an individual one. I was given the opportunity of back in 1964, when I was in my early 20s, to be the project manager on the H6 Lee building on the corner of Burke and Queen Street in the city. And that was a substantial building. And in fact, it was 1963 because we'd separated from Costain at that time, and it was one of those buildings that my father had organised, and so I was a project manager. I had a great term, and it went like a dream. So, so it gave me good credibility within the firm and all those sort of things. But I've got to say, a fantastic team beside me. So I think my father made sure of that. But that's a sort of standout. It's the whole lot that count, and yeah, that's what it is. Building's a process, and you just got to keep every building on the go, on time, the right sort of quality, the right sort of people, and it's the overall enjoyment of working with those people we employ, but and the others, and the architects and the subbies and all. But it's a great industry and a very enjoyable one. And just occasionally you run into certain difficulties you'd rather not have, and you've just got to get through it. So that's it. It's a good.
We've been ringing up members of the 25-year club just to talk to them about it. And there's been a few themes running through talking to them. One is family. They don't regard it as a job, or they're part of the family in Sydney. The other thing they mentioned was that the enjoyment of working, because they were always at the pointy end of the industry. They keep mentioning innovation and new ways. What was the secret, firstly, from your perspective, and then we'll get Ron's on being at the show?
The number one answer is survival, making a profit. If you're not innovative, you're going to be out of the game. So, and it doesn't matter how good your innovation is, everyone else has copied it within a year or two. So it's constant. And my original mentor beside my father was the foreman, as we used to say, of he built the Harbour Trust building back in 1931. He built a lot of the city buildings, Bank of New South Wales and others. And he used to tell me all the time, you've got to be the first with this and that. And so, but that had been in the company, the drive to keep on finding the best method, let's say, of doing your formwork, or how do you handle this material, or the design of a new hoist that no one else has got. So that was constantly, day by day conversation. What are we going to do? And this is the way. And so they come back the next morning, they've made a model, they'll do this and that. So yeah, it's just a bread and butter stuff. every day you've got to be thinking of the next move and being in front of your competitors.
Well, that's sort of the challenge of building whatever, because actually in some respects it's driven by others in terms of the development of materials, design, improvement, the impact of computerisation in industry has been driven a huge amount of that. And the other aspect, I think, that was important to me, and I talked about development about professional courses for builders rather than architects and engineers, that in the progression of time, the combination of those professions together, working together rather than isolation, as it was. The builder was the builder who did as he was told, if you like, by the others. Today, it's combined, the professions work together, and in fact the builder was seen as the manager of the project. Respect for the other professions, but the combination of these issues resulted in the way buildings are built today. And Australia is the world's best practice in terms of the construction process. And that's been achieved through coming together of the professions rather than the isolation, if you like.
First of all, I've studied the firm for 100 years. I know that if you have the right people around you in relation to what you're trying to do, and those people are much better than the average team in your competitors. You've got a very long-term secure future, and that's the fundamental thing to understand. And at one stage, when I was uncertain in the early 80s as to which way I should go with things, I made sure I had a trip to the United States, and for the purpose of going to the larger cities and investigating what happens to building companies as cities get bigger. And the simple answer is that building becomes more personal. The bigger the city, the bigger the company, everything becomes more personal. In other words, if you're going to succeed, you've got to know your client, and he's got to know you, and that is the way it goes. And it's at every level. So if you understand your position in the industry, and you know the people you've got to have around you, you've got a very secure, very, very long-term future. And so that's what I've been able to study and understand. And so I've got a strong confidence in the future of the company as I've ever had. I've always had a strong confidence based on knowledge of what you can achieve and how you can do it. And it's really quite exciting for now the next generation here, because they've got as good a group of people as the company's ever had, and is doing as well as we've ever done in the past. So very, very, very confident person. So some people mightn't always believe it, but it is, we're in a very strong position for the future. Good. And so the only limitation on the future is just having the right people around you and another generation to carry it forward. I guess, quite simply, my father was that person, and that the greatest admiration for not only his character but his capabilities, and that's at one level. And then I can think of some of our top people, and they're amazing people, and as well. But really, the number one person whom I've sort of had to live up to was my father.
I started in the industries as a carpenter, and Liz Giles was the one that offered me, who was a proud brickie, as I mentioned, and who offered me that opportunity of coming into his business. So he certainly his ability to read people and to recognise perhaps opportunity for people was rather remarkable. As years went by, his ability to do that was an influence on me. I've tried to benefit from on it through the years. So he certainly gave me more opportunity. But there wasn't a selfishness about that at that time, I'm sure. It was just a sense of his personality. He was just a great bloke.
Yeah, I think those sort of characteristics that Ron explained then is really what enables success, and that's absolutely fundamental. And that's when you get a good company, whether our company or another company, you'll find it's the same, I think. And there's something in common with Les Giles being a bricklayer. When one of the early jobs my grandfather had when he came to Australia was as a brickies labourer. And he eventually employed the brickie as his principal bricklayer in his early, for many years. And that, yes, I think you learn those sort of, and he was amazing, like my father too, I could say, amazing at handling people and situations and all the rest. So that's what really why we are as we are, and because we've carried on those sort of ways of dealing with people.
We can play a role, I guess, in influencing that. We can't control it, as you said, but certainly every confidence that our people now, those skills are there for the same reasons. They're successful for the same reasons. I guess our influence more, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've got no doubts about them, and I wish them well, and I think they'll do very well.